Hi, I'm Mike Cerrone, and you're in the right place if you're here for the Referral Mastermind Call. This is an open session, so you can talk about any topic you want. We're here to help. We're here to use the mastermind to solve your challenges and help you move forward on your referral business. When we talk about referral business, we're talking about repeats and referrals from your past clients in sphere of influence, your friends and family and acquaintances. And we're just going to be going out there and sharing this information with each other and see if we can't find some great solutions to some common challenges. And again, the idea of the mastermind is that we all come together, we share our concepts, and that together we can create better solutions that we can figure out on our own. So let's go ahead and get this started. Thing we like to do to get things rolling is ask if you have any success stories you would like to share with your referral business in the last week or month, anything that went well that you think would be beneficial for everybody to know about, kind of share. So if you have a success story, go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us about it. You got one? Well, you and me, Terry, we're going to go for it until other people show up. And sometimes we're small, sometimes we're big. You never know what's going to happen when you get on these calls. How are you doing, Terry? Let me just break off and talk to you for a minute. See if I can help you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's good to see you.
Hey, it's good seeing you. You look like you've lost a bunch of weight, guy.
I did lose a little bit of weight. Yeah,
you're looking terrific.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing well too. Yeah, I'm not doing so good on referrals because I'm too much of a darn loner, and I don't do a great job of keeping in touch with past clients. That's why I tuned in. Figure I gotta get this handled.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's have a little fun here today and talk about your referral business and see if we can make it better. How's that sound?
All right. Yeah, like I say, there's not much to talk about because I'm really been horrible on keeping in touch with past clients, and I've really kind of wound down my business quite a bit. So I'm really not useful in any arenas, so to speak. I do have a property I'm trying to sell in Laguna Niguel right now, but I made a mistake. The market was so hot that the person, it's a probate, and the person said, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to touch it. And I mean, we had holes in the garage drywall that the dog chewed, had a hole in the kitchen wall where they fixed a leak, and plastics were missing from the light above, and on, and it needed painting, and I just said, okay, I think we can get away with it. And this was about early March, mid-March, and in 7 days, the market just folded. And we had half a dozen people talking about going to write an offer. We had 3 offers. We refused one at $840. We refused one at $800. We refused one at $750. And we're down at $780 now because after we refused that, I was waiting for an offer to come in at $875, but the agent couldn't put it in because of his family. So he had to wait for his supervisor to put it in. I think it was Realty One.
Yeah.
And 5 days later it came. It wasn't $875. It was $800. And so we've been just locked in. I've got a showing today, but I'm trying to get that done. And what my focus is, by the way, it's on probate. And so I'm a certified probate expert, and I'm also a certified real estate, whatever, from the other probate outfit. The only good one is a certified probate expert. Is the easy to remember and understandable one. And so I'm really trying to figure out how to combine probate with referrals. Now, obviously, this is a probate that I just described, and I've got a fairly happy client because she understands that it was she who wanted to keep trying for a higher price. It was she who said, we're not going to touch it. And I kind of edged her into doing some stuff. And finally I said, okay, you got to do it now. And she did do the facelift. But what do you know about probate agents who have been successful in creating referrals and repeats? I mean, the repeat is probably not so much there because it's, one time in a lifetime. It's pretty typical.
Yeah. Well, Terry, let's jump into this. What I see is you've got three things going on, right? So the one, you got the current challenge with the market shift, right? That in this property, and I think that's interesting to people as well. And the next thing is you've got this probate business that you're building up, and you're trying to figure out how to expand out of that, possibly with referrals. And I've got a couple ideas for you. And then the third question is referrals in general out of your PCSOI. So let's go back to the first question, because again, you're not the only one experiencing this problem or this challenge with the shift in the market with these interest rates going up, and a lot of people have been caught off guard. And if you, as you had already figured out and know, if you had listed this property in January with how hot the market was, it would have been gone in a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days, with holes
even as a fixer
and everything else.
Yeah. Even as a fixer, right?
And we've all been there. Anybody who's been in the business a long period of time and has been through these hot markets, you'd recognize what we're saying. And if you just lived through the last couple of years, so that is, I think you started to already allude to the solution, and that is you got to have a sit down with your seller and say, hey, this market is radically shifted. Here is what I could try to show stats whenever possible. This is what I'm seeing out in the market. Here are the stats for days on market. It's hard when it's initially happening, but you can show articles that are popping out, like all the contracts that are crashing on builders, contracts that are starting to crash on just regular resales. You can start to show the days in the market increasing. And the whole concept, when you start talking about these down markets that you got to get through a seller, is getting ahead of the market. You got to move fast and get to the next step down before the competition, because if you wait, you're going to be stepping down when everybody else is stepping down to the next level down, and you're going to keep lagging and following and chasing the market down. Better to take a little bit of a mental or financial hit. It's not really a financial hit because you don't have it in your hand yet, but it's better to take that hit now and take a little bit less than you expected than to take it later and take a lot less than you expected. So
well, I think that's true also about the amount of drop. I don't want to drop enough that just kind of delays all the way down. I want to come down enough for people to say, oh, I want it, and I already did that once. I came down 50K. I came down 60K from where we were listed, but I came down 50K from what we had refused, because what happened was when she bought this property, she paid a premium of 70K. Well, one just closed at 830 and we got an offer at 840. And she said, I paid 70K more for the view in the second garage. Let's see what else we can do. And I, fat, dumb, and happy, I went along with it. So when I finally woke up and said, you know what, we just blew it. We came down 50. And then she still hadn't fixed it. Now she's fixed it. Now we're down 50. And now she's willing to go down again. But I've kind of put the brakes on now because we had a viewing a couple of days ago. We got a viewing at 11:30 today. So I don't want to do a price reduction in the middle of somebody thinking about it, because darn well that'll just take them down to there and then the next step down. So I've got to wait now to see what happens on the showing today. And if that doesn't work, we are going to come down some more.
How about, so a couple quick ideas. This is always a fun one. Tell me the pricing again, because I'll talk a little bit about price point, what I call price point technology. It was an old concept I used to play with in the listing days. So you said 875. Were you 875 and you came to 825 when you say 50
No.
down?
She was going to put it on for 760, which was a pretty healthy price until you looked at the market. And I found there was one in escrow, same model, with zero view and no possibility ever of a view, and one garage and a carport. And we had probably one of the best views in the whole complex of a lake. And same model. That one was really gussied up. Ours was fixer. And so I said, well, we got to go up to 800, not because we're going to accept 800, because this one that just like yours with no view is 830, and it's already in pending, so it's going to close at 830. But we need to be over the 800 so people don't have to get over that 800 hump. And then we'll figure out how high we can go above the 800. So we had an offer at 840. We countered back at 865. Another agent said, I'm going to send you an offer at 875. And I said, great, we're in.
Okay.
5 days later, it comes in at 800.
Right.
And, excuses from the agent. And that's about when the darn market collapsed. And here we are, literally with a fixer that needed painting. It needed corners caulked. It needed broken tiles fixed in the kitchen. I mean, fixer looking. And I told her, I said, this is like a place where you camp out. Your micro's busted. It doesn't match the refrigerator. Your range doesn't match the refrigerator. You got this 1954 microwave on the counter. I mean, this is like a camp out place. We have got to get this up to speed. I said, I don't expect you to put marble on the countertops and so on and so forth. And, I went and bought the plastics to put into the ceiling because the darn thing was too big for standard plastics, in the recessed light. And she painted, fixed the tiles, and now it's no longer a fixer. Now it does need new flooring, and it needs, marble in the kitchen and that sort of thing. But
what's the price at now?
All right, so we refused 840, and now we're at 790.
Right. Okay. Good. So you're underneath the 800 mark. That's what I was curious about.
Well, there's nothing like this available. Nothing else is sold except that one that sold for 830.
Did it close?
Was during, 2 weeks earlier during the apex. So the only thing I can do is go back a year, and I did. And going back a year, there's a 700 that, by the way, the people put it on at 600 and it got bid up to 700. And there was one at 800. The people put it on at 788. It got bid up to 800. So we've got an 800, a 700, and 830 for a much lesser property, but it was all pretty gussied up, staged, and so forth. And ours at 790.
Yeah, but you can't use that because the comps are too old. Have you gone outside the complex within the last couple months to see any others? Because that's what you got to do. You got to keep doing constant CMA updates. You might have to do them weekly to show what's happening in that market, the market fluctuation and the change, especially as those rates keep bumping up and affordability is going down.
There was one sale in my complex, but it was much less, 600,000, not for this model, but for the smallest model. And it sold in 5 days because it was staged. It was priced appropriately. And even though it had a double staircase, I'm sure that the people who bought it were younger and weren't concerned about the stairs. One of the advantages we have, besides the view, is it's single level. There's no steps coming in. There's no steps going out the back. There's no stairs. There is somebody above. But I'm looking for a 55 plus downsizer who needs a bedroom for him and his wife, or just for herself, and an office, because it's 2-bedroom. And like I say, I don't need to convince my seller to come down, but I know there's no point coming from 790 to 770. It's worthless. Yeah. All it does is delay.
Doesn't move any new buyers in. Right.
If we come down at all, it's going to have to be like 759 from 790.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that real quick. I just want to mention that if you're in a complex, you look at the comps in there, and those are helpful. But remember, the buyer has alternatives to look at other complexes. So that's why you want to look in the general area, the same zip code, et cetera, right around it for other comparable type sales that they could be looking at. And that'll help your seller with their mentality as well as to what they need to do. Sounds like you're on the right track, that you're fixing the property up. You either have to fix the property up, drop the price, or add a concession. Remember to always keep that in mind. That's a way to do a half-step move. For instance, in your price range, a full step would be from 800 down to 750, from 750 down to 700. What I mean by that is you're pulling in new buyers because they're getting qualified in these different groupings, right? But you could take a half step where you go from 800, instead of going down to 750, add in like a $25,000 carpet allowance, whatever you want to call it in today's terms, an update allowance that'll allow people to use that money if their financing will allow it. If they're cash, they can just take it off, or they can use it as an allowance. But that allows you to create some movement without taking a full step. So that's something else to keep in your repertoire, because this is not going to be the last property you run into this challenge with.
I hadn't thought about the credit that they might be able to, augment their cash to do, because what it really needs,
costs get covered.
The one thing that would really, jazz this place up, if you had new flooring that continued into the kitchen, into the bathrooms, like a wood look tile, for example, because it would make it look bigger. And just to make things interesting, she's got this old European style, super massive 4 pieces of furniture. And, and when you look at the other ones that sold, they're all modern, they're all staged. Somebody paid a, decorator to stage it.
Big furniture makes it look small. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to push those views. I like how you're going after the target market of the seniors, right? Or somebody who doesn't want any stairs. That's actually a larger group. You got the view, take pictures of that view. You know what to do. You've been doing this a long time. Just remember to beat the market down. Don't chase the market down. That's the worst thing that can happen. You'll end up down at 500,000 or below if you're following this whole thing down. You'll pull all your hair out. It won't be fun for you or her. Let's do this though. Let's shift gears, and you'll have to keep me updated on this story. But let's shift gears and talk about referrals from this target market that you're going after of probates, right? Let me ask you, when you're going after the probate market, who are you talking to get the probates? Are you going to attorneys to get the probates? Are you just noticing ads in the paper? Are you going directly to the owners or the sellers? How are you going about it?
Okay. I'm taking a course right now, actually, put on by this probate outfit. And I'm taking the course, and that's what it is. It's EARN, Earn Attorney Referral, something or other. Anyway, and he's got an extraordinary program, extraordinary course in how to go to attorneys, how to prepare to go to attorneys, and how to meet with them, get them, on your side, so to speak. And his thing is, your first step is to bring them a referral. And if you don't have one, that's you. So if you haven't done a estate plan, or if you haven't done whatever it is that you need in your particular situation, you're the referral if you don't have one. Now, if you do have one, go to your SOI, talk about doing an estate plan. No, you haven't done an estate plan. Well, why don't you do it on my nickel? I will pay for the first hour to go to this attorney. So my idea is, his idea is that I'm incorporating is to bring a referral, even if I have to pay for an hour of his time, bring a referral in for a 1-hour consultation that doesn't cost my SOI person anything. And it doesn't cost, and it does pay the attorney. And I'm certainly willing to cover the cost of, $200-300, whatever it is, for an hour of his time to demonstrate that I can do what I claim I can do. So I think that this course, this EARN course, is really well worth the money, to tell you the truth. I'm only about 20% through it right now. So that's one way. One thing, to move off the probate for just a moment, I actually, and this is really embarrassing, I have lost 2 or 3 clients because of my attitude. My attitude is, good Lord, I got you this place for $2,050,000. It's worth $3 million. I need a either video or referral. But they don't see it that way. They do not see quid pro quo. I have another one. I saved him, literally saved him. He wrote an offer for $25,000 more. I beat the other agent down. And even though I had an offer that I already presented for 25K more, this is on a just right at $2 million property, I got it for 25,000 less than he'd already written the offer for. And I gave him a referral to just approve. I said, look, I'll just write it for you. And if you're okay with it, just sign it. And that's how I've got about 50 of them on Zillow right now that I've done that I've written them, and then they approve. And I say, okay, that's it. And he said, oh, this is too long. And I said, well, you don't have to memorize it, just approve it. And my kind of acerbic approach, I never did get one from him. And I have one guy who did a video. Terry Hunter is the best real estate agent I have ever worked with when I got him his house. And he went and listed with somebody else for 21 days and then it expired. I don't know what the heck was going on, but somebody just kind of pushed him into a corner. He listed for 21 days and canceled. Yeah. And he decided not to sell. But, he gave me this video referral, but I've had at least 3 occasions. And what I've got to do is soften up a lot when I ask for a referral. And my concept, look, I saved you $20,000. I saved you several $100,000. People don't care. They just don't care. And they will not trade, my people anyway, with my attitude, won't trade a referral for unbelievable success for them in their process. And I don't understand it, but I've learned that I'm going to back off. And I need a better way to do it because I ain't getting.
Let's walk through some of that. That's a great topic. So you're looking to get testimonials. You're looking to get reviews of your service from your current people to help get you more future referrals.
Yeah, I really kind of translated my mind from from referrals to testimonials. But yes, that's what I was talking about. I'm sorry, I'm a little off from
That's
getting
all right. Yeah. This is great.
Because I got the guy who wouldn't give me the referral referred me. I mean, he wouldn't give me the testimony. He referred me to his friend.
Perfect. We'll take
it. With Terry is honest to a fault. This kind of testimonial he had already given. And I got, I earned a $2 million deal from the friend who wouldn't give me a testimonial. But at least I did get the referral. So I guess maybe I'm too focused on the damn testimonials and kind of ignoring he sent me to his friend. Right. And I did a good job for the friend. The friend was happy.
Well, and he did what
he was happy that the friend was happy, but I didn't get the damn testimonial. And I guess I just got nearsighted, tunnel vision.
Well, let's break that down, Terry. So when you're going for the review, know that you're not going to get everybody's, right? Let's just start there. It's just like if you played baseball when you were a kid, right? You're not going to hit every home run. Every time you get up, you're not going to smack a home run.
Why is that? I mean, it wouldn't ever occur to me for somebody to do a wonderful over-the-top job for me to ask me for a referral, and I would say, oh, I ain't doing it.
It's because
yes, I will, but then never do it.
It's because of the personalities. The DISC personality profile, the DISC. Like the S's are very.
I'm a D.
Go ahead.
I'm a D.
Yeah. And so the S, your D is like only 5% of the population. That's hard for Ds to remember. It is a 4 quadrant, but you're not 25%. You're a small group. You're only 5%. And the opposite end of the spectrum is the S's. And the S's are very steady. But they're very nervous. They're tight-knit. They don't like to reach outside of their own little social network. And it's very concerning for them to do these things. So you're right. And a D wants results. You're very driven. That's what's made you successful in business. But when you hit these little walls, it can be a big challenge. So I'm going to give you a couple different things here. Okay.
Okay. I appreciate it a lot.
Sure. So also your C's will have a challenge with it. By the way, the S's are about 40% of the population. Okay. They're a big group. And then the C's are another challenge for you because they're going to overanalyze it because they want to be analytical. They're going to have a problem with why. Why are they doing it and all the little details, and they don't want it to be too long. They don't want to make mistakes. That's probably where you ran into that other guy. That's 30% of the population. So 70% of the population you're going to have stumbling with, okay? If you hit an I, they will be outgoing, they'll be happy to do it, but they're going to be hard to pin down. Okay, they're willing to do it, but they're hard to pin down because they're all over the place. They're a little erratic. A D is going to be too busy most of the time to do it, right? That's why you have to throw it in front of them and make it fast. These things are a little bit of a challenge to get, but I really liked what you did. You asked for one form, like the video. You should always start with what you want most of. And then you should have a fallback position. If that doesn't work, you can say, hey, how about if I write it up? Or how about if can I send you one where you write it out? Okay. If they won't do that, then the next level down is I write it for you and ask you to sign it. I did that all the time in the old days. I had a ton of them just like you because I wrote it out based on what they said, asked them to sign it. Let me go to the next thing that I think is important for you, and that is the timing. It's very important when you present this and when you ask it, okay? If you ask after the closing and after they've already moved in, their mind is on to the next thing. They're on to another issue, okay? They're on to how do I make money for my family? How do I take a vacation? How do I deal with the dog that just pooped on the rug or my kid who is having a challenge in one way or another? You're forgotten. And that's the way life should be. People are single focused, just like you got single focused on the one idea. They've got single focused on all their other stuff. So the question is when. You got to bring these things up during the transaction. The top agents who also get what we're talking about, which is testimonials and reviews. Agents who get so many reviews that they'll have like 50 or 100 closings a year just off the reviews, generating new business coming in, right? They're doing the online reviews. That's the kind of success I'm talking about, these really sharp folks in this area. What they're doing is they're bringing it up at the very first meeting. They're saying, hey, I'm going to do a great job for you. They outline their services and they say, I'm going to do such a great job for you that at the end, I'm going to ask you if I did a good job. And if you tell me I did a good job, I'm going to ask you to do a review so I can send this out to everybody and let them know what a great job I did. In fact, I'm going to probably ask you during the course of the transaction as we're going through. I may ask when we have great success that you share that success out there with other folks because I get most of my business by referral. I help people and they let other people know. That's how I drive my business. And if I do a terrible job, I don't want you to give me a review. In fact, I want you to tell me what I did wrong. But if I did a great job, I want you to share that with people. Would that be okay? What you just did was you future cast what's going to happen. You put it in their mind early and you set the tone for what's going to happen later on. So when you ask later in during the transaction, like during the negotiation when you just knocked it out of the park, or during the inspection phase where you negotiated something that was very acceptable when it was looking very bleak in the beginning, all the way then to the closing or right before the closing is usually when they ask. Not during the closing, not after the closing, but right before it, right as you're moving towards the closing, okay? Because then afterwards, it's just too difficult to swing back around. Now, people do. It's just it becomes harder the further away you get from the action. Remember, you got this time frame with these people for 30, 60 days where you're close-knit, you're in each other's business, right? You're talking each day or each week, and people are in your world, and they like you, and they understand and respect. After they forget, I mean, you tell me, you bought a car 10 years ago, tell me about that salesperson. Tell me what they did. Tell me anything about them you can remember. Can you even remember their name? Mm-hmm. It's hard to do, right? So you got to do it in the moment. Does that help?
Yes. Let me ask you a different question. What if they say yes, but then don't do it? See, that's okay. Kind of where I get into trouble. They say, I did the thing. It's above and beyond. They said yes.
Right.
Then they don't do it. Or even worse, even if I send it to them, they won't sign it because it's too long. It's too this. It's too that.
That's okay.
How do you
got to remember it's
bring that back up without making an enemy?
Remember it's a percentage game. And the guy you mentioned who didn't do it, who sent you 2 referrals, woohoo! This guy will hand you referrals. That's even better. It's even more money in your pocket. How can you be upset? That's a winner.
Yeah.
Right. So some people are just going to be more They want to be more incognito. They're not public speakers. They don't like to be out front. That's why your eyes are going to give you the highest videos right there. They want to talk to everybody. It's natural for them to speak and get out there. You may get a C. They'll have a hard time getting on camera, but you might get a C or an S to give you one. And by the way, if you do, it'll be great because it'll be very heartfelt. But more likely, you're going to have an I do it or a D just to get you off their back. Okay, but you got to remember there's all these different personalities floating around, and most of them, 95% of the population, ain't like you.
Well, I made another mistake too that I'm learned from. Maybe I can help give it to you as a little bit more information for your pile of information. Without knowing the DISC category of the person I was talking to, she's probably an S or a C. It's actually this current one. Here's a mistake I made. I talked to her at the first meeting, just like you're describing, about doing a video. Oh no. I don't do video. No video. Right. So that was my mistake. I should have kept it general, like you just described. So I didn't scare her away by talking about something that is not something that she's going to do.
Right.
So I like the way you put it about you didn't really specify how it's going to happen, or it's going to be online, or it's going to be written, or it's going to be video. It's just going to be you saying that I've done good for you, so to speak.
Exactly.
I think that's really valuable for me.
Also, keep in mind that an S, and by the way, everybody, we're talking about the DISC personality profiles. Make sure you understand them. That S, that steadiness, again, 40% of the population is the biggest group of people. Okay. When those S's, they do not like to be outgoing, right? It's not in their nature at all. But they do, the way I picture them in my mind is they like to give people a hug, okay? They're that kind of person. They're usually nurses, as an example, okay? They like one-on-one, very connected relationships. So when you start the relationship at the very beginning and you don't know each other, like this is a lead that's come in that you haven't talked with or dealt with before, you're on the outside. You're on the outside of the circle. You're not on the inside yet. So that's why you got so much resistance, right? You're asking for something and they don't even know like they know you yet, right? They asked you for something and now you're already asking them for something. They don't live in the world of quid pro quo, right? That's a D. The D lives in that world. S on the total opposite end of the spectrum. They don't live there. They live in I do stuff for my family. I do stuff for my close friends. I will go to the wall for them, and they will. They can be extremely loyal, but only for a tight-knit group. So you have to wait till you get into their group before you ask for these big asks. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And so remember what you're doing at the beginning is you're not expecting them to give you a referral at that very first meeting. You're just planting the seed. You're planting the concept of moving down the line and something coming out at the end. And keep this in mind. Let me hit that point again of when is the best time to ask for the review or the testimonial. The best time to ask is right after you did something amazing. Okay? Right when something amazing happened and they feel really, really good. So let's say in today's market, you listed this property and it hasn't been sold for 3 months, and then boom, you get the contract and get it under and you get it accepted and you get them everything they wanted or close to it. You say, wow, that was fun. And they go, yeah, thank you so much, Terry. You go, oh, that was cool. Could you do me a favor? Well, what do you need, Terry? Well, could you help me out? I need to let everybody know that I work really hard. Could you let them know that I did a fantastic job for you? Would you mind doing a quick online review if I sent you over a link? Or would you mind putting it, if you have an eye, would you mind putting on video what we just went through? Because I want other people to experience the awesomeness that you just experienced. Okay? Makes sense? You have to do it right at that time when they're mentally in that headspace. Now it's easy for them. It's easy for them to flow. It's easy for them also to do details, because the more details involved in their statement, especially video, the more realistic. They can say, oh, yeah, the buyer wanted my washer and dryer and my refrigerator, and Terry got them out, and I'm able to take them to my new house. And you're thinking, well, that doesn't mean anything because you're a D. Well, for S's and C's, where they got that refrigerator from their parents and they want to take it with them because their parents are no longer alive, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why they can get that across, and other people can say, oh, yeah, just like me, just like in my house. Okay. So that's why you want all those little details. That's why video is good when it's authentic.
Let me change track if I can still keep talking.
Sure. Go, Terry, you're rocking, man.
Okay. The next question I had, let's go back to the probate. So the way I got this client was follow-up. I get the leads not from the CPE people, because they have leads that don't have property. And it makes no sense to me to waste time talking to people to find out they don't have property. So the other leads that I buy, they do have property. That's how come the lead is the lead. So I call them, and you get a lot of, oh, everybody's calling. Oh my God, why don't you people quit pestering me? My father just passed away. This is a horrible time to talk, blah, 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 blah. So what I told this one, I said, she was kind enough to get on and speak with me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to keep in touch, but I'm not going to pester you. I'm not going to phone you and, just bend your ear again and again and again. But when we get to the point where you feel comfortable and you've got all your things together, I'm available. And darned if I didn't get a come listening. She called and she said, okay, I'm ready to sell now. Now, I don't know if she'll give me a referral, since I let her get away with not fixing up the place where I should have dug in my heels and said, no, I don't care what the market is, we got to fix it. But she was adamant. She wasn't going to do it. So I probably wouldn't have got the listing if I had done that.
Yeah,
so anyway.
That's okay, Terry, that part. You can always throw yourself on your sword if you made an error in the pricing. I made a mistake. Just throw yourself in there. I made a mistake. Let's make an adjustment. Always use the word adjustment. Yeah.
Okay, so how is a good way to make these calls when people are really bent out of shape and they really don't want to hear from you, and you're the 15th person, and yes, I got your damn letter, but I don't care. That kind of attitude. How?
The answer is a mirror and matching.
Is what?
Mirror and match. Mirror okay. And match, right? Looking at a mirror, the looking glass, looking back at you, and match. What you want to do is you want to get on their side. So if you're sitting at two different tables, you're sitting at the table on the opposite ends and you're looking at each other, now you're opposed to one another, right? What you got to do is you got to stand up, walk up on the other side of the table, and start looking the same way together. Okay. If you do that, now you're shoulder to shoulder with them on the same side of the table, yelling and screaming at all those jerks that have been calling. You get it? Yeah, okay. That's how you become a friend, right? The enemy of my enemy is a friend, right? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That concept. And so that's what you're doing here. And so that when you do mirroring and matching, that's what happens. So if somebody says, oh, I can't believe all these people are calling me, go, God, isn't that frustrating? I can't believe all those people would be calling you either. And they're like, huh? Or they're just going to dive right in. Yeah, it's been terrible. I lost my dad and all these jerks are calling me. Like, that's got to be painful. I can't believe you've had to go through that. All right. Now you're not calling them as this outsider. You're calling them as their friend going, yeah, that stinks. Okay. That's an advanced technique that highly productive cold callers use very successfully.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so that's called mirroring and matching. Not only do you get on the same concept, same side of the table with them conceptually, you also use your voice. It's very important to use your voice. You're a D. You want to talk fast. Okay, let's walk through this part. D's and I's talk fast, but I's are 25% of the population and D's are 5%. So you'll get along with 30% of the population talking fast, but 70% of the population thinks you're a city slicker and you're trying to rip them off. So when you get on the phone, when they say hello, you've got to slow down and say, hi, this is Terry. If you say, hey, this is Terry, and they're going to be like, I got to get off the phone. Okay. So that's the other part of mirroring and matching, is the speed of talk and the tonality. A lot of these things, what you're doing is that's the mirroring part. Whatever they're doing, you're doing. Now, you can't do it to such a level that you become false, because you really piss them off because you got close to their heart and then you gave them a surprise. They don't want that. Okay. So you do have to be careful with these techniques, but they do help you create a fast relationship with people if you learn how to use them. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I asked this lady, why did you choose me of all the people who called you? You know what her answer was? The other ones quit calling.
Ah, yeah, that's a big one. Yes.
I mean,
Consistency.
that's not something I just made up. That is a quote.
Right.
And I'm thinking, all right, well, that worked out pretty good.
And you future cast at the beginning, right? You said, I'm not going to do what these other people are going to do, but I will be here when you're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you played the long game, and anybody who knows the stats on sales knows the long game wins, right? If you do one contact, your odds of getting the sale, I can't remember the actual number, maybe 5%. It's very, very low. But I do know when you get up over 5 contacts, your success rate goes up over 80%. And it's mainly because of this, what you're talking about here. Everybody else fell out. You're the last man standing.
And like I didn't call her back either. I sent her some letters just to say I'm still here, but I promised her I wouldn't pester her, and I didn't.
You did mixed medium, right? One is through the phone. The medium is the way you contact somebody. So one is you came through the phone, and you came through the mail. You might come through text, or you might come through an email, social media. These are things you can use with repeat referral as well. Okay, back all the way back to the beginning to your PCSOI. That's kind of the last topic, is how do you make sure you're getting more repeating referrals from your current people? First, you have to have a list. You have to have the database. And second, you have to work that list. And
well, how do you
mixed media?
How do you restart if you've been careless like me of keeping in touch?
Right.
And now you've got to own up that you haven't been keeping in touch.
Right.
And you want to start. So how would you go about doing that?
This is a very common problem. I call it reconnecting with neglected past clients. That's the way I label it, because it's not because it's because I just run into so many people that have this problem. I had the problem. I talked to a lot of top agents who had the problem. I talked to a guy who closes 400 units a year, and he said for the first 8 years, he never followed up with any of his past clients. It was a massive mistake. And once he did, things started to really take off. So the question is, how do you reconnect with people? And here, I'm going to give you a couple things here. Number one, it's not as big of a deal as you think it is. Okay? You think it's a big deal because you feel guilty about not doing it. Remember, the other side, the other person, they have no idea what you're even talking about, because they thought real estate agents just came and went. So to them, it's not like you made a mistake. They just thought you were like everybody else. So the way I like to think about it is, instead of you putting a dead stop on the relationship, you just hit the pause button. Okay? And all you got to do is unclick the pause button to start up the relationship again. I know I'm taking a little while on this to give you the answer you want, and it's hard for a D, but hang in there. The problem is, when you're connecting with these during the transaction, you have this really tight relationship with them. Okay, and that's what they remember.
I typically have that every time.
Of course, and most
agents, I once get in, I'm in.
And most agents do. In fact, most agents I talk to, that's what they say. When I get in with somebody, I got it made. That's true. And by the way, the studies show that. NAR did a study years ago where they went out and interviewed 1 year after the transaction. They went out and interviewed buyers and sellers and said, hey, number one, did you like your transaction? Did the transaction go well? Yes, that was the majority. Here was the big question. Would you hire your agent again? 84% said yes. So that tells us people are doing a really good job when they're in the trenches with the client. Okay, just the industry, just in general, people really like us. We do a good job. 84% said, yep, I'd hire them again. The follow-up question was, what's their name? Only 11% could answer that question. Only 11%, 1 in 10. So the problem is, remember, they go on with their lives. They start doing other things, just like you thinking about somebody you bought a car from. You might not remember their name. You just start doing other things. And so it's our job to really just stay in front of them. But coming back to the question at hand, you had this great relationship with them, and that's what they remember, because we remember emotion. Emotion is what we remember. It's the easiest thing for our human body to remember. That's why details sometimes are fuzzy. but you know whether you like someone or don't like them. You just know that. It's an emotional connection. So you connected with these people emotionally, and odds are very positively. And if not, your emotion will remember, oh, I don't like them, and they probably don't like you either. So there's probably something wrong in that deal. And that happens too. Put them in another group, and that's fine. We're talking about the people you connected with. You can unhook that, unpause that button and start the play again whenever you want, whether it was a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, doesn't matter, because it's an emotional connection. You ever bumped into an old friend from high school? You're like, oh my God, it was forever ago. But if you start talking, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I remember when we did this, you remember we did that, and oh, this happened and that. All of a sudden you're just back there, right? Well, that's the same thing you can do with this connection with your past clients. The question is, how do you break the ice? That's the real question, okay? And I've asked many top agents what their solution for this challenge is. And bottom line, it comes in, some of them just say, just start talking to them again, whether it's by phone or you just send them something about real estate. You just start marketing to them. That's actually a solution. It's not my favorite, but that's a solution. The next thing that's a little more direct and would be great for a D is you just call them up. And still now, what's the script? The script is, one of my favorites came from a guy, sold 185 homes in 1 year. He's really good. Most of those are repeat and referral. He's really good in this mental space, right? He says the best way to do this is to blame your database. I call it the blame your database. I think he labeled it, I don't remember, but it's the blame your database technique. And here's what you do. You call them up and you say, hey, Sally, this is Terry. I know it's been a while since we talked and I feel really bad about it, but I've had a bad database. My database just wasn't keeping up. And everybody knows that computers and software screw up, right? So it's like, my database just was messing up. I've got an improvement. I'm making it better right now. And I wanted to reach out to you and just see how you're doing. Sally, how are you? And Sally may say, oh my gosh, it's great to talk to you. Or she may say, who are you? I don't know who you are. And at that point, you just say, oh, I'm the guy that helped you buy your house. Do you remember? Or I'm the guy that helped you sell your house. Do you remember that transaction? I think it was on 123 Elm Street. You remember and you try to do a little memory peg. Do you remember how the market was dead, but we got 2 offers? Or you remember how we negotiated through that challenge? Or remember when the dog did blank? Or I don't know, whatever. Anything you can remember to try to jog their memory. At some point, they're just going to go, oh, Terry, oh my gosh, it's so good to hear. And they're going to ask you more questions than you ask them. How are you doing? How's your business? And, oh, I haven't talked to you forever, because they had that emotional connection. Okay.
Wow, that's really something. You've really energized me to quit talking about reconnecting and actually go do it.
They're waiting for you.
See, I'm an Army brat. I know, but I'm an Army brat. I'm used to changing friends and classmates and everything every 3 to 4 years for my entire growing up life. So it's a little harder for me than people who have got long-term friends, but that's really energizing, and I will do it. I will. So.
They're waiting for you, Terry. They are. They really are. They don't know it yet, okay? But they will when you start talking, okay? By the way, they may recognize your voice. That's the other reason to call, right? Because a voice is more emotional. It's more memory, connected. Yeah, try that. Blame it on the database.
Yeah, I'll do that. I promise. I will give it a try. I'll let you know.
Call 10 and tell us how many people go, yeah, call 10. See what happens. I bet they're going to love you. Yeah. And then you can take your database, build that out, and now you've been in the business a while. You probably have a fantastic past client and sphere of influence database, whether it's formalized or not. You need to formalize that thing and start creating a standardized campaign to it. That will send you so much business you will fall over if you start doing it correctly. Because the range that I've found from people, I'll just hit that real quick, is people who have a formalized database, but they're not doing a great job, but they're doing something, but they're not doing a great job. they'll typically get 5% of the list repeating and referring every year. So if you got 100 people in there, that's 5 closings a year, year after year after year after year. And usually you're not spending a lot of money or time on these things. Next, if you get good at it though, and you actually put in a plan and you're consistent, you've got a decent plan, you can get that up to 10% of your list repeating and referring. That becomes very significant. And then if you become really good at this, become the best of the best is repeating referrals. I'm talking about the top solo agents. They tend to be around 20% of their list repeating referral every single year like a machine. It's really quite incredible. You have a list of 100, we're talking 20 closings. You have a list of 200, we're not talking 40 closings. That's how they're doing all this volume consistently, okay? That's why the PCSOI is the bedrock. I did not build my business on it. I've just been talking to all the top people, recognizing, oh my gosh, how huge of a mistake did I make? I was always hunting and pecking and going out there and trying to pull the business in when it was all sitting right in front of me.
Wow, that's really valuable mind concept.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's huge. I've just been fortunate to talk to so many people, over 200 of the top agents, and now just over 100 what I call working agents, where they're out there trying to figure things out, and you start to see all the patterns of the problems and the solutions.
Wow. Yeah, I know that you've got incredible connections from the things that you present, you know, the annual presentation you make. So
thank you. Yeah, I've been very lucky. My own career, I was able to get to 113 closings in a year, but that was going mainly after geographic farming, okay, and becoming a heavy-duty listing agent. And I would have done a lot more than that if I'd been working my PCSOI. I probably would have doubled those numbers. It was a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Well, I appreciate you sharing it with me rather than saying, oh, I'm wonderful. And, you know, I appreciate your honesty of letting me know that I'm not the only one that screwed up big time.
You're not the only one, man. Me and a lot of people I talk to, including the top agents, a lot of them are still hunting. My favorite story, I'll try to wrap up on this. My favorite story is a guy who closed 2,000 transactions in his career. 2,000.
That's 20 years at 100 a year. Holy smokes.
Yeah, he did 35 years, and he was closing around 50 to 70 a year.
Wow.
Solo agent, he was just hammering it. He just prospected. He just did all kinds of things to get people in. He never kept a database of PCSOI. And when I ran the numbers for him on what he should be doing, instead of, you know, he started to struggle a little bit. He was only closed 30 that year, and he was trying to figure. I'm like, if you would go after your PCSOI, dude, with 2,000, even if you did it terribly, 5% is 100 closings a year. If you hit 10%, you got 200 closings a year. And if you did this really well, you have 400 closings. You have to hire a whole staff to help you out. I'm like, you're missing this massive opportunity. And the last time I talked to him, he's still out there hunting. He just won't shift.
He didn't do it. He didn't do what you told him? Wow.
He had this challenge of how do I reconnect? He had another challenge of how do I go back and get the data that I haven't been collecting? And I have solutions for all of that. It's just, he just loves hunting. I can't get him to switch gears. Right?
Wow. Well, you know, the other thing is, until you said it the second time, I didn't realize that you were talking per year.
Yeah. Over.
See, that's what
and over.
Yeah.
See, what happens is, and you think, how could that happen, right? How can you take a list of 100 and get, let's just go to the middle, 10 closings a year every year? It's because in the first year, you get this group of people repeating or referring. In the second year, it's a different group. Okay. In the third year, it's a different group. Now you'll have your top 10 that are always referring you. Okay. Your top 10%. But the supplemental numbers are coming from different people in the group each year. That's why it's not like, It's not a list of 10, it's a list of 100.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's why it works. That's why it's year after year after year after year. But you got to stay in front of it. That's the hardest part, right? Well, for people to get over if they haven't done it, because they think I'm going to be a bother to these people. I'm going to be overbearing to these people. That's why you come from mixed mediums. You're just constantly around, just like you did when you followed up with the gal we talked about in the very beginning, right? You just kept staying in front of her a couple different ways, through mail, through maybe a phone call. I'm not sure all the things you did, maybe did a text, something else. You just kind of reminded her that you were around. And the past clients are the best because they already have that emotional attachment to you. All you got to do is just stay there and remind, because you never know when they're going to get the notice from their boss, they're ready to move, they got a promotion, or they're getting transferred, or they just lost their job, or they're having a baby, or they're getting a divorce. You don't know when that's going to happen. So you've got to be in their world when something pops up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have one other question for you.
Fire away, Terry.
Yeah, that's not related.
I always enjoy. I'm just so happy to see you. This is fantastic.
Okay, the question I have is, I want to do, and you're going to think I'm out of my mind. And this is between you, me, and the fence post, and there's nobody else on it. So, but what I want to do is strange, and I call it remote control real estate. I want to take our experience from 2020, 2022, or 2020, 2021, and I want to do remote real estate. Okay, and remote real estate means to me, I meet with a seller on Zoom. I perhaps have somebody walk through his property who I can hire to do it, boots on the ground, with a FaceTime, with a video cam or whatever. I list the property. I have other people show the property. And that's the nature of my business, because I've found that I'm better. I really, when I first started, I made millions and lost millions. And I never got to be really, really good as an agent. I got to be good as a planner and a project guy who could do a project that would make me $800,000, or do a project that could buy me land for $1 million that I could sell for $4 million. And so, do you have any suggestions for what I just described? Do you just think I'm totally out of my mind and there's nobody in the world that's going to go for it? I mean, is a seller even going to say, why the hell would I do you? And my answer is, you don't need me doing administrative stuff. You need me negotiating for you. I'm a master negotiator, certified master negotiator, and you can contact me. You don't have to go through my underlings. You can contact me directly. I'm not going to be sitting on your couch, but we're going to be Zooming together, and it's not going to be a delay. You're going to find me when you want me, and then I'm going to be able to do things for you that nobody else can do. How would you go about implementing such a thing? Because of all the people I know with your personality, you're the one that I would like to have an answer for on that, because I'm really going that direction.
Terry, this is a great question. And you are not alone. You're not the only person who's ever thought of this. And you're not the only person who's ever struggled with trying to put it together. I actually talked to a lot of people. Let me give you a reason why it happens, okay? And why people have run into this challenge, and then some of the solutions that they've discovered. First of all, let's say that you're working in market.
Excuse me just a second. I don't have to send you money for what this is worth to me,
no.
Because this is worth a lot of money to me.
Yeah, it's something I toy around with. Yeah. You know me, Terry. I like to help. Yeah. And so the things that we charge you.
By the way, congrats on the EXP. Good move for you in particular.
Yeah, thank you. Let's do this. Let me share with you where I run into this the most. It's somebody who's working in market A, in state A, and then they have to move. Okay, they built up the business for 10 or 20 years.
Okay, well let's use the states, California and Arizona. Let's
go California to Florida. They're far away from one another, right? Or California to Alaska. I don't know, wherever. So they're far away. In fact, I'm gonna pitch this in real quick. I just talked last week to an agent who's in Canada. Okay, she's up in mid-Canada, and that's where her business is. And she just had to go home to Europe to help her family out, okay, because of death in the family. And she's been there, with the states and everything. She, you brought up at the beginning, kind of interesting. She's been there for over 6 months. She is now doing her business remotely, just like you're talking about. Okay.
Oh my God.
She's been taking listings over Zoom calls, just like you talked about. She has somebody I call it boots on the ground, somebody who runs the people around if she has a buyer, or she goes meets with the seller or puts up the sign or what, any of those things. She has never left Europe, and she's selling property in Canada. Okay, people are doing this. I've got a couple that does it from Oklahoma, and then they move to Texas. Okay, and they run the business in Oklahoma from Texas. I got a gal in Florida that's doing this. I'm trying to remember where, I think it was Connecticut was the other location. You got people that can pull this off. It's not.
Are you aware that you just pulled me out of a deep, deep funk? Is this even possible? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
You betcha, Terry. This is absolutely 100% possible. Let me tell you that one of the keys to make it work, though, is it's usually someone who has a good PCSOI business. These are people that already know you. It's going to be an extra level of challenge to get people that don't know you to fall in line with this. So that's why you want to build out that database of the PCSOI and reconnect with them. Yeah, because they already know you. You've already walked side by side through transaction, or you've already played squash together or golf or whatever you did to meet them, and they're in your SOI. You already watched your kids play baseball together. Whatever it was, you already had the connection, and they already know you. And so it's just like calling a friend on the phone. You're just on a Zoom call. You can do it on the phone. You can do it on Zoom. You can do it on the internet. People are comfortable now, this time of the world, of doing transactions online through Amazon or whatever else. So this is very easy for them to fall into this and to flow into it for most people. Now, not everybody's going to agree. My gal in Europe was saying, oh, but I just had a guy that wouldn't do it. I said, okay, well, let's talk about why. And it turned out the guy said he just couldn't get over the idea that she wasn't there in front of him. And unfortunately, it happened a couple weeks before. Here was my answer to that. Ready? If you run into that while you're trying to build it, the answer is a trial. A trial. You just say, hey, let's just try it for 30 days. If it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul. We'll just write up a 30-day contract. Okay?
That's wonderful.
And if they say no, say, hey, great, let's try for 2 weeks. Let's try for 2 weeks. You try for 14 days. You'll do anything for 14 days. Come on, let's try that. And you can see that this is going to work great. Because most people, once they make a commitment, they'll go all the way. Okay, that's why if you're in a listing agreement, if you can get someone to sign, no matter how many outs there are in the agreement, they're going with you all the way. I used to do easy exit listing. They could fire me anytime for any reason. All they had to do was give me a notice. They never fired me. They just needed to know they had an out.
Wow, that's wonderful information. Holy smokes.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are ways to do this. I want you to know there are certainly, you now need to use your brain power. You're a very sharp guy. Just use your brain power for how to set it up and how you'll work it. You've obviously already been working through these technologies and these concepts. Just know that other people have already done it. Other people are currently doing it. It's not easy, but you absolutely can do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, your personality and showing me how it's not even the facts, it's your presentation of it. It gives me hope that I can match what you do and use my particular skills and combine it with your wonderful skills and then come up with something that's really good and doing what I want to do, which is remote.
So here's the way, I'll just give you this last little tidbit, right? Here's
you sure don't want me to send you a check, right?
No.
I don't know if I can afford all this.
Go ahead, Terry, but you don't have to send me a check.
No,
so here's the last little tidbit, and that is this. When you are initiating the conversation, you have to get over the initial resistance of you not being there. It'd be like going to the doctor and then not being there. But doctors do visits through telemedicine. They do it through Zoom. There's ways that we've learned how to do it. And and by the way, you can use those examples when you're talking to someone.
You know, that's perfect. I would rather go to a telemedicine right now than go to the doctor. I really would.
Exactly. And what you got to do though is you got to give the whole story. Let's hit that for a second. You got to say, oh, I did not like this idea of telemedicine. I thought it was absolute BS. I thought it was going to be ridiculous and it wasn't going to work. You have to start there. you say, but I just needed to do it because I was short on time, or I had a problem and I needed to get a quick answer, or my doctor couldn't get me in right away to the main office. And so I went ahead and tried it. Okay. And to my surprise, this is what happened. I got great service. It got fast. I got the prescription I needed right away. And now every time I want to do the telemedicine instead of actually going to visit him because it's easier and faster. Right?
True.
So that's using
an
outside story to explain why. What's going to happen is this, Terry, as you actually get people to agree to do the remote, you're going to get their testimonials for how the remote worked.
Oh,
You're
wow.
going to try to get them on video. And what you do, Zoom is awesome, like we're doing right now, because you can record it, okay? And then you can edit later. But you just basically say, hey, Sally, we just did this deal together. Wasn't it weird? Would you mind telling everybody else? Did you like it? First of all, did you like doing this a remote thing? Did it work out for you? Oh yeah, Terry, I got everything I wanted. Would you mind sharing that? Because a lot of people have resistance. Would you mind sharing your story? That's another key word, story. Okay, not testimonial, it's a story. Would you mind sharing your story with other people so that they can maybe be a little more comfortable with this? Oh yeah, I could do that for you, Terry, but I'm a little worried about video. No problem, it'll just be you and me. We're gonna talk a little bit about what happened. Would that be okay? Would you mind if I recorded it? And then you just talk to them just normal, and you say, well, what happened first? What happened second? Were you resistant when you actually got in there? Did it seem kind of weird? See, don't run away from it, just run right into it. Didn't it seem weird when you first went in? Oh yeah, it was really weird. Didn't you think it was strange that I was asking you to do it by me? Oh yeah, I didn't know if I was even gonna do it. Exactly. And so you're building the story of what happened. Remember, we're kids, we love stories. Everybody relates to a good story. So you show this story of how this person, Sally, walked from not really wanting to do it to walk into it and kind of test it out. And oh my gosh, it worked fantastic. And whoa, Terry got her everything she wanted. Okay, so that's one thing. The big picture I want you to get, though, when you talk to them initially is this. You've got to use this. You got to do a little one sentence concept to get it in their head. Ready? Here it is. I am the mastermind. You're going to use my brain to get this whole thing done. Okay? But I've got people who are the boots on the ground. They're the feet. They're the arms. They're going to get this thing done. Okay? But you're coming to me for my expertise and my X number of years in the business and my negotiation skills, but you were going to use these other people to get everything moved around in the right place and location. This is working fantastically well. You got to trust me on this, but I know you might be a little hesitant. What questions do you have? You got to ask them what they want to know, because you're going to hear all of the objections. And once you get objections, you're going to build those into your script for that first conversation.
Wow.
Okay, like the objection might be, I don't think you're going to be around. Well, you build it into the conversation. You know, by the fact that we're going to be doing this on Zoom, you're going to be able to reach me anytime you need help. Okay, you're not going to have to wait because I'm out in the car driving around. I'm going to be around waiting for you. I'm going to help you out. Or whatever your business model is.
Well, I like that too. Yeah. Well, holy smokes. That is super valuable to me. Because like I was saying, I'm just saying, probably I'm just losing my marbles and it's never going to work and nobody's ever going to do it. But that telemedicine thing is a wonderful example. And your presentation, I mean, you're really something at this. I've seen you in pretty low key operations where you're talking to people and you're just kind of feeding them things. This meeting right now is totally different from every meeting I've had with you in the past.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm looking at you and saying, oh my God, if I could inject that kind of power into my presentation and that kind of friendliness into my presentation, oh my Lord, where else could I go? No, I mean, really,
enthusiasm, right?
It's not just the facts, it's the whole presentation. It's the most valuable thing that I've done in months and months and months and months and maybe even years, to just have this conversation with you. And I'm just astounded. I really am.
Thank you, Terry. Those are very kind words. I do appreciate that. Let's break that down real fast so that you can duplicate it with your clients. What it is enthusiasm and belief. Okay. You have to believe what you're saying, and you have to be enthusiastic about it, because just like you told me and how you feel good about what I'm telling you, you need to get your people to feel good about what you're telling them when you're making that initial presentation. You can't walk into it and go, I'm going to try the Zoom thing. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. They're not going to buy in, right? They're just not going to buy in.
Well, not only that, you hit on the positive, and my direction would be more like there's 229,000 agents with a license in my MLS. What do you think your chances are of really getting a super sharp agent? But I like your approach, without the negativity, without the bad mouthing, and just none of that makes any difference. What makes a difference is you and I now, you've known me for 30 seconds. Let's keep going. And now you've known me for a minute and a half, and this is not so bad. I mean, I have seen the light. Honest to goodness, I have seen the light.
Cool. Terry, you're making me feel good. I'm going to give you another one. I got to get another call in about 45. Let me give you another quick one. And that is this. The fastest way to bond with somebody is to ask what their problem is and talk about it. Okay. So if you go to a question-based presentation in the listing, you're going to have the most success. I always forget his name, and I feel bad about it. I can picture. I'm a face person. I remember his face, but not everybody's name until I see it or hear it or whatever. Bob Bolin, that's the guy. Bob Bolin sold, I think it was just under 10,000 properties in his career. Okay,
wow,
amazing. One of the most productive agents ever. And that was a second career for him too. He didn't start till he was in his 50s. This guy is phenomenal. He was a CEO of corporations. He's a very sharp guy. Okay, so let's just start there. He figured things out though, and that is he does a 20-question listing presentation. He just asks 20 questions. In other words, he asks questions and he shuts up and he listens. He gets the other person talking and telling their story, because he doesn't think he can help them until he knows what their problem is or what their challenge is. Just like if you went to the doctor, right? The doctor's got to ask you a series of questions to find out what your problem is. And if you ever go to a doctor who doesn't, you're like, this guy doesn't care. This gal doesn't care. They're just trying to get rid of me. They don't really care about me, right? Do you ever have that experience?
Yeah.
So same thing here. You're trying to show that you care about this person. The way you do it is ask questions and listen to the answers. You got to listen, take lots of notes. That's the other way to get these conversations started on the right footnote, is demonstrate what you're going to do during the transaction. So in this very first call, you ask them questions and you listen. Where you want to move? Why do you want to be there? What's important about that? What happens if you don't get there? Okay, and that's going to help you have that fast connection as well.
Wonderful. Michael, thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
You betcha, Terry. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me today. We only had you and me and one other person at the beginning, and they stepped off. It was just you and I. I'm glad we kept going, right? We built something fun today. It was a lot of good information. Thank you so much, Terry, for being here. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us. And thanks for being here at the Referral Mastermind Call. A lot of fun. All right, Terry,
thank you, Mike.
Keep me updated, by the way, with all of your success and what happens moving forward, okay?
I will definitely get back with you.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Bye now.